Hey, MBS here. Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to replace your valve stem seals. Alrighty. Somewhere in the life of your engine you may find that it's blowing a little bit of smoke due to the seal leakage, and rather than take the cylinder head off, it's relatively easy to do them while they're still on the engine. Alright, this is a 6-cylinder Holden engine I'm doing here, same as a Ford, a Chevy, same style of rockers. They've all got a similar setup. Okay, so first thing we're going to need is a little tool like this. There are others. I'm going to show you how to use this one. You can make actually one of these yourself really simply out of a piece of steel. Okay, just put the bolts and holes and slots in the strategic places and you'll be able to use that tool. Alright, so to get this set up we're going to be using the rope method, where I'm going to be shoving rope down the bore rather than use compressed air. Now the reason I prefer to use rope is that I'm paranoid about dropping a valve into the engine if I accidentally lose air pressure, or I accidentally kick the valve with this tool and take it off its seat. As soon as that happens, the air will leak straight past the valve and I've got a possibility of the valve dropping down into the engine. Generally that won't happen in most cases because the seal will stop it from sliding down, but I don't take any risks. Alright. Last thing I need is an expensive bill to be ripping the head back off trying to pull the valve back out. Alright, so I do it safe. The rope method can't be beat. And not only that, when you think about putting compressed air into the cylinder, you have to have the cylinder on exact top dead centre. If it's just a little bit before top dead centre or after top dead centre, the compressed air will just push the piston back down. And as we all know that the camshaft will either open up the exhaust valve or the inlet valve before it gets to the bottom. Alright, so it's not going to hold air. Okay, so the rope method to me makes the most sense and it's easier. Alright, who's got compressed air available all the time? Alright, so I can do this on the side of the road if I wanted to, as long as I had a piece of rope. Alright, so let's set this engine up now. We have to have it on compression top dead centre to start with, so we know which cylinder we're going to work on, but we actually don't have the piston set at top dead centre. We're going to wind it back so we can get the rope in, and then we're going to wind it back up to top dead centre and compress that rope up, which holds the two valves in place. They will not open. Even if I jam the tool against them, the rope is going to stop it. Okay, so let's get that set up. Okay, I've got this set up on top dead centre compression #1 cylinder. How do I know that? Because my rotor button is pointing directly on the #1 HT lead. So I have to be on compression. Now I'm going to turn the engine backwards and take the piston down to bottom dead centre. Alright, so I just turn my mark around about 180 degrees away from the timing mark, put my piston back down to the bottom, and then I start filling that bore with rope. Okay, I like to use a nylon type of rope. It doesn't really matter if you use sisal. Okay, so we just shove a fair bit of it in there, half a metre or so is probably good enough. Okay, and then just leave it and rotate the engine back to top dead centre, and there we go, and it's locked in. All that rope now is pushed up against the valves. There's no chance of them actually dropping into the bore. Now we simply take our rocker arms off that cylinder, and then we'll use that tool to open the valves. Okay, before we try and use that spanner to crack these keepers out, just give the edge of the retainer a bit of a tap with a hammer. Okay, just like that. And that'll just break the seal there that the retainers have against the keeper. Alright, because these can be quite hard to crack open if you don't do that. Okay, now that we've given that a nice sharp crack with the hammer, we can put our tool on, screw this down, so there's about level, set that up and go just a little bit more. Now if you go too far and bring this right down to here thinking that you're going to be able to compress this even further, what happens is when you take the keepers out and the spring pops up, you won't be able to undo this nut because the pressure of the spring will be acting up against it and jam it. So about there should do. You only need to screw that down if you can't push the valve down far enough. So we might notice here that the valve will move a little bit as it compresses the rope, but it will only go down a little bit. Oh, and there we go, and the retainer is let go. So compress that down until you can pull your keepers out. And there we go. This is loose enough. Ooh, just close. We're just going to be able to get that off. Alright, so we'll take our tool out. The valve is still sitting in there. We can take our valve springs and everything off, and we can get to our seal, which is dangling down here. It's broken. So yeah, this one actually needed a seal replacement. Alright, so now it's just a simple matter of replacing your seal. Now in a Holden, you do not put the seal on now and then put everything back together. I'll show you the correct way to put a seal into a Holden. So we put our spring retainer back on. Okay, put our tool back on and screw this on. Now we can screw this on as far as we like, so we can get this valve definitely pushed all the way down where we want it. Plenty of clearance, okay, because we need to be able to get the seal down in through here now. The seal goes on now and it gets pushed down into that retainer until it sits into that slot. Once it sits into that slot, we can put our retainers in and let go of it, and it'll all be good. So I'll grab a seal and we'll actually fit one. Okay, let's get this down. Let's get the seal fitted over the top. Let's get it into that first groove, and let's get it past that second groove. And we have to go down a little bit more until that sits into that second groove. Now while you're holding it down, you put your little retainers back in. Okay. Once they're in square, let go of it, let it come back up, and you are done. Remove your tool and move on to the next one. Okay. So there you have it. That's how easy it is to replace the seal. Now the trick was obviously how I fitted the seal and when I fitted it. A lot of people will put the seal on and then put the spring and keeper, and what happens is when you pull down on the tool, the seal is pinched and is taken out of its groove, and that's why they hang down on the valve like they do, because they're not fitted correctly. Alright, but that's the correct way to fit a seal into one of these engines. Okay, we've completed number 1, so which one are we going to do next? Well, logically, it would be number 5, because it's the next one in the firing order. This will save you a lot of time trying to work out where your piston is in whatever cylinder you're trying to do the seals in. If you follow the firing order, you won't have to crank the engine over much at all. All we have to do is wind the engine back about 20 degrees and pull our rope out of this one, and the piston will already be pretty well down the bottom of your next cylinder in the firing order. So you just throw the rope into your next cylinder in the firing order, fill it up, rotate your engine over until you compress it, done. Do that cylinder. Rotate it back 20 degrees to pull your rope back out, and then go straight to your next cylinder in the firing order, fill it up with the rope. Okay? That way, if you follow your firing order, you won't have to turn the engine much over at all. Okay? And your piston on the next cylinder in the firing order will be down further than the one you've just done. So it's already in position for you to put your rope in. Yeah? Okay, so if you follow your firing order, starting at number 1 and doing your seals methodically like that, you won't have any dramas.